They are exhausting and stressful. But I bloody love a good game show. Of course there's a lot to consider when you are organizing your own booth. It can be overwhelming. So here's what I have learned from Expos so far to prepare smoothly and get the most benefit from showing your game. First off, what is it that you want to achieve from showing your game at an expo? Player feedback, press coverage, brand awareness, sales. I strongly believe that for an indie game developer, short-term sales from individual visitors should not be the primary goal of displaying your game at a show. Just before exhibiting at Tokyo Game Show last year, I took part in a very useful trade show initiative workshop with a DIT. The two lecturers were shocked that I was not tracking sales, because I did not see it as a goal. I learned something pretty useful that day: how to track conversion rates and activity during an expo. But I still stand by my original opinion despite that. To me, there's a lot more potential in longer-term, indirect sales achieved through good press coverage, and this deeper brand awareness should be what we are gunning for. But I did take the advice I learned, and I pushed individual sales and tracked them too. I was on Tokyo Game Show with my leaflets like a ninja. Apparently people are pretty hot on QR codes in Japan. So I made sure to use lots of QR codes, linking to our star page on all our marketing literature. How many scans did I track? 9 scans from the 2,000 leaflets we handed out. On top of this, our sales really did not change considerably during our time at the show, and definitely not enough to cover our exhibition costs. However, a few days after the show, Famitsu and Fargamer published interviews with us, and our sales increased 430%. It was a huge sales spike that paid for the show and left plenty of profit to spare. But more important than that, we made an impression in Japan, and got our foot in the door. So with that in mind, do not think of the little sales, think big. On average, 75% of visitors at an exhibition will come with a short list of specific booths in mind to see. The most important part of exhibition marketing starts long before the show in order to entice these visitors. So, we need to reach out to your potential players, established fans, plus YouTubers and journalists, and maybe distributors or publishers. Here's a few ideas how. This is especially important if you are hiring interpreters, temporary booth staff, or recruiting volunteers. Prepare yourself and your staff before the show, particularly the last 2 points for everyone. 90% of business secured from a show results from follow-up work in the immediate days after. Hopefully you are keeping records of your leads, right? Make sure to divide them into a hot, B1, and C cold. Contact us within 48 hours. The best results come from follow-ups made within 5 days. Personalize your email to them, and jog their memory of who you are by reminding them of your conversation and offering them a code or something nice and special. The best graphics attract attention and convey your message instantly. A visitor should be able to understand what you are offering in 3 seconds, the time it takes them to walk by your booth. Keep this rule in mind when you are designing your banner, as this could be your one chance to grab your audience. Keep your branding consistent and make your graphics bold and eye-catching with simple messaging. Do not overuse text on your banner. The less you can use, the better. Just your title and maybe a subheading. Some might add a call to action. But at this stage, we are just trying to attract initial interest. We can use flyers for the details. I highly recommend getting some leaflets printed for your stand. Because 1. you are going to get bored pitching to every single passer. By real quick, cool note voice left on the second day of the Expo tour. Not everybody wants to hear your pitch. Casual punters can be put off and feel pressure to play your game. Cool playing a game you do not like for 10 minutes, just so you do not offend the overly keen developer lurking behind you. 3. Business cards are great on all for making an impression, but they can only hold so much info. Never been to a networking event, only to get home and flip through the 100 cards in your backpack, scratching your head at who the hell some of them belong to, or what their actual game was. Do not be one of those forgotten business cards. Leaflets allow people to see what a game is for themselves, without committing to play it, while the developer heavy breathes over their shoulders. Here are the key points to include on your leaflet designs. And then of course there's your business cards. How many is always a tough question, but better to get too many than not enough. You can always use them again next time. After all, I usually take about 200 cards and have plenty to spare. But the Swan socialites might need more. As for freebies, I am not a huge believer in freebies being of much benefit. They are great for drawing attention to your stand, but no more than that if you are already on a tight budget. If your banner looks interesting enough, and people want to play your game, they will come to you. Freebies are not. I bloody love a good checklist. Seriously, this is just as much for my own benefit as it is anyone else's. Capcom says the demo for its upcoming remake of Resident Evil 2 was downloaded over 3 million times since it went live on January 11th. The demo itself has an interesting quirk, dubbed the one-shot demo, the short slice of Resident Evil 2 gives players only 30 minutes to make their way through the enemies and puzzles in the game's early level. Once that 30-minute run is over, players cannot start the demo again on that same account. The downside to that limitation, however, is, inevitably, players quickly found ways around it that likely have inflated that 3 million download figure. Console players can make additional accounts to get a second, a third, or fourth shot, while PC players have found ways to trick the demo into allowing additional plays. Another interesting read on the demo comes from data shared on Capcom's Resident Evil Net website. Of those 3 million downloads, roughly 2.5 million players opted to enable RingNet's Play Data Tracker and help gather more data on the demo's completion. For instance, only about 26% of those 2.5 million players completed the demo within the time limit. So you have made a successful mod. Congratulations! Perhaps you have heard of the incredible success of mod to indie transformations, like Team Fortress 2, DOTA, The Stanley Parable, and D-Raster, and you are thinking about transforming your mod into a standalone indie game too. I am going to offer some advice. Based on my recent experience, I made a story-driven mod called The Forgotten City for a popular RPG I'm not allowed to mention, and it's been downloaded by 1.9 million people, won a National Writers Guild Award, and received broad critical acclaim. Kotaku even called it ambitious enough to build its own game, so I am reimagining it as a standalone game, to be released in 2019. You can check out the trailer here. If you do like to see how it's shaping up, reimagining your mod as a standalone game is a massive undertaking, and you are going to want to do some exhaustive preparation beforehand. Get legal advice. Chances are, you'll agree to some kind of end-user license agreement, with the developer of the game you were modding. You probably did not even read it. Unfortunately, It may have terms which restrict your ability to reuse or promote the intellectual property you created. It's going to depend on the terms of the use, so there's no one-size-fits-all approach here. But if you do not get legal advice, you may get a long way down the road to making your game, only to be the subject of legal action from that other developer. The law around intellectual property ownership of mods is shrouded in mystery, so the best approach is to reach a clear written agreement with the other developer's legal team, which removes most of the uncertainty. That's what I did. With the help of a specialist video game lawyer, I recommend trying something similar.